Hello and welcome back to the Hype Bulletin, hosted by yours truly, Ralph Mentor. The 2023-2024 Boston Celtics are now up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks after a 105-98 win in Game 2 at the TD Garden that yours truly was happily inside the building for. But now the Celtics sit 2 wins away from 2 wins closer to their ultimate goal of hanging banner 18. But unfortunately, in the middle of the third quarter of Game 2, there was a hiccup that occurred, unfortunately, and also we'll get into that after the breakdown of Game 2 at the Garden that I had a chance of being in attendance to and had close lookups to Paul Pierce, who was sitting behind the basket, but I was a few rows up, but not so much up, at least behind Paul Pierce. No, but I got a good look at him from the tunnel coming into his seat, at least. Metro Boomin wasn't too far to my left. Bia again wasn't too far from my left, and she had herself a halftime performance too as well. I did sit near the NBA Countdown Cruise setup, but to the left of me at least, too as well. So I got to see Malika Andrews, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Bob Myers, and New York Knick, Josh Hart and all. And not towards, I don't know why my script has that, but at the end of the game, when everyone's smiling out basically on the way out of the building, got to see Chris Tucker in a dope-ass white leather suit, I believe it was too as well, from my vision point at least. No, but he looked awesome too as well. Travis Scott was even in the building. He was on the Jumbotron too as well, honestly. So it was a star-studded event and all. But besides all that, besides all the vanity and the celebrity that I'm talking about, let's get into the game and all. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown showed out with their passing skills with 19 assists in the 48 minutes of the game, 12 of them coming from JT and all. And even though his shot wasn't falling, his floor game was on point and all. Was able to find Drew Holiday. I believe the stat 6 assists. 6 of those 12 assists went to Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday ended up going 9 for 9 at the paint because every time Jason Tatum was cutting and then driving to the basket and it forced an extra defender onto him, Drew Holiday was seeing the seams, seeing the angles, and cutting for, again, that 9 for 9 clip at the paint and all. And 6 of them, I believe 6 of those 9 field goals in the paint came from Jason Tatum passes and all too as well. So even though Jason Tatum's shot's not falling still able to drive to the basket, forces gravity towards him, and still open spaces, honestly. It worked towards the three-point shot in Game 1. This time it worked for Drew Holiday, and I believe he ended with, if not 28, 26 points and all. 9 from the paint. Had a couple big threes and all throughout the game, too, as well, especially with, I think, 4 to 5 minutes left in the fourth. He hit a 3, and Derek White hit a back-to-back 3 after he hit that big 3 off a steal. Towards the end of the shot clock, Jason Tatum went for a dunk attempt, got blocked. Drew got the ball and swung it over to Derek White, the top of the wing, top of the key, basically in between there, to hit a big 3, honestly, to essentially give the C's a 15-point lead and to hold off the Dallas Mavericks, who were fighting their whole game, honestly. And it took a big block from Derek White and Jaylen Brown at towards the end of the fourth quarter, getting that big block on P.J. Washington. A questionable call, because questionable no call, I should say, since Jaylen Brown's hand was on P.J. Washington's back, unfortunately. So it was a questionable call, unfortunately, and all. Unfortunate no call, that some people can say, but fortunate as me and the other Celtics fans that they were able to get that block on P.J. Washington, and Jaylen Brown was able to hit a layup. I don't know if that was after or before. I believe that was after. He hit that big layup, and all. Dallas called a timeout, came out of that timeout, missed their shot, and basically the Celtics were able to run the clock out and all to take a 2-0 lead to start the series and all. So I'm trying to see if anything else I missed in this game. Basically, there is a hiccup. I'm trying to see if there's anything else big in this game from the Boston side, at least and all. Like I said, Derek White, the three-point shot was struggling. I think there was a time I'm looking at the above scoreboard, or at least, looking at the Jumbotron. The C's were going like 4 for 27 from three-point, or if not going into the third, in the middle of the third, honestly. They were able to pick some threes up. I think they ended up with 10. So I believe, they had 6, basically had 6 from the middle of the third quarter to the end of the fourth. D White had a couple. I have DW in my script, so that's why I keep saying DW. But Derek White had a couple big threes, even on the last second one. Payne Pritchard had a dope half-court 3 too as well. Jason Tatum even joined the barrage with a corner in the three in the corner wing there. Jaylen Brown even had one at the top of the key too as well to help cinch that lead that they were building in the fourth quarter. They were even building a double-digit lead in the third quarter after Dallas, I believe, got their first lead in this in the series. If it wasn't, it was their first lead in the game at least and all. But it was for like 30, 40 seconds. They had a 55-54 lead, and the C's were able to go on themselves on a run to create a 10-point lead on Dallas in the middle of the third quarter. Again, Dallas came back in the fourth quarter, and the C's pushed up to a 15-point lead to that Drew Holiday three I mentioned earlier from the steal from Derek White. And then after that possession, Derek White from a Drew Holiday, basically a dumped attempt missed by, blocked, I should say, by Jason Tatum. Drew Holiday ended up getting the ball and swung it over to Derek White for a big three at the top of the wing in the key there. And also, even though the three was not showing up, I was concerned. Like the first half or so, first half and then in the first half of the third quarter, that three was not showing up, and they were generating great looks and all too as well. It's still able to live at the basket. That's something from game one. They definitely were able to continue in game two, but the threes were just not falling. They weren't falling great in the first game, but they dropped 16 of them, and it helped them with a big lead and all. In this game, it took until the middle of the third quarter to the end of the middle of the third quarter to the end of the game for them to get back into get their 3-point stroke going again. But a good takeaway from this game for Boston, they were still even, and then with this hiccup that we'll be talking about, they were still able to live in the paint with no issue, honestly. That's where Jason Tatum was getting most of his assists, honestly, just going to the basket, driving downhill, or going downhill, driving to the basket, basically. And then it was huge for Derek Holiday to come off the three, cut, find some angles, find some lanes, and get some easy baskets for himself, to the point that he went 9 for 9 in the paint for the rest of the game and all. So that's the big takeaway for Boston. For Dallas, at least, I do got to say in certain parts of the game they did play better. I'll give big credit to Daniel Gafford because he basically got played off the court in game one without any foul trouble and all. Lively had the foul trouble with 5. Gafford was fine, but was unable to play effectively, and he only played 14 minutes and some change in this game. I know he played over 20 minutes. I'm not sure how much. Maybe it was 24 to 26 minutes. But they found him early. I think to the point earlier of Dallas getting the lead in the third quarter and like having for 30 to 40 seconds. It was really based on giving Daniel Gafford the ball and posting up on Jason Tatum for back-to-back possessions. And I think they went to a back-to-back-to-back, but he scored in the first two at least and all. And that's what gave him the lead, if not helped them push towards getting a lead, honestly. Because, even though even though Daniel Gafford is not the most skilled post-up guy, he can take advantage of the size difference with Jason Tatum, and he surely did in that instance, honestly. So Daniel Gafford came out looking better in this one. I thought he would be played off the series, and he showed out better in this game, honestly. You can credit him to keeping this game close for Dallas, especially in the first parts of the third quarter, honestly. And then Luka only had 1 assist in game one, 6 potential assists overall, if not the 1 assist and the 6 potential assists, however that stat works. He ended up having 10 plus assists in this game, honestly. He had 20, this man had like 18, 20 points in the first quarter, honestly, or some ish like that. Yeah. Let me say he had like 16, 18 points in the first quarter, ended up having like 23 points at the end of the first half, ended up having 29 points at the end of the game. He started hot, and you can tell these injuries. I'm at the game, and this man has a wrap around his chest. Apparently he's dealing with some contusion there, thoracic contusion, if I'm saying that correctly, and I got another injury pertaining to the hiccup I have to mention and all too as well. It's going to be ridiculous to pronounce even if I try announcing it and all. But again, Luka's dealing with a wrap around his chest, dealing with a contusion. Looks like when he took that how do I want to call it, that charge that he forced on Jaylen Brown in game one, seemed like he sustained a contusion from that situation. Also, he's dealing with his right knee and all, and I believe he has some ankle issue. I guess that's a guess right now. I didn't see any wrap around that, but I did see a wrap around his knee and his chest, and also he is ailing. And I think it kind of permits to why he had a hot start, at least with the 18 points in the first quarter, and then 23 in the whole first half, something of that nature. He had a damn good hot start, honestly, but wasn't able to keep that going, honestly. I think his stats were 4 for 10 for the rest of the second half, at least and all, if not 1 for 10 from in the fourth quarter, at least and all, but they weren't good and all. So that's going to be curious, him going into it. And mind you, the hiccup I'm about to mention with Boston and a certain 7-3 individual and all, it was reported that Luka did come out for warm-ups Today's Wednesday, so Tuesday he came out for warm-ups. Yesterday during media day, went back to the locker room. I'm listening to the Hoop Collective, and Brian Windhorst and Bam McMahon is saying that he's taking a shot, or mentioning something of a shot that he's going to be taking, that he could be taking going into Game 3, or he has already been taking going in the previous games, but probably taking a shot from this game and going forward to deal with the pain of the chest and deal with the pain in the right knee too as well. Most essentially those two. So I saw them wrapped up, and I thought he was dealing with an ankle issue, but I could be spitballing there and all. But that is pretty concerning for Dallas, who you can argue Lucas had 2 great games, honestly, scoring wise for sure, honestly. And if somebody showed up, i.e. Kyrie Irving or somebody like that, you can argue that he's helped them at least in a split situation and all. If somebody showed up, honestly, for them in a big way, and obviously Kyrie Irving is the elephant in the room in that situation, at least and all. So, but to give credit for Dallas in Game 2, at least and all, Luka was able to move the basketball a little bit more. PJ Washington did show out a little bit more too as well. What's it called? And I gotta give Gafford, even though he got played off the court the way he did in Game 1, was able to sustain better play and actually played more minutes than Derek Lively and Maxi Kleber, honestly. And in Game 2 and all. But let's just get to the hiccup that I keep going back to and all, because this is obviously the biggest takeaway in Game 2 and all, and that's the ankle and foot injury. I'm not going to bother in trying to pronounce what the injury is, at least and all, but Kristaps Porzingis did suffer an ankle or foot injury during the game. I kind of noticed him limping after coming out of the free throw line when Jaylen Brown was attempting free throws. That's what it seemed like. That's what he mentioned when the injury came up. There was a play in the fourth quarter with like 6-7 minutes left, whenever that was, that P.J. Washington basically went through him for a rebound, and he came out and he landed on the floor and ended up coming up limping from that. And that's when everyone saw that he was hurting, honestly. I just feel like he kind of exasperated whatever he was dealing with before and all too as well. It looks like it's on his left. This is in the left leg, or a left leg issue, instead of the right calf issue that he's been dealing with that had him missing 38 days in the playoffs and all. So he's listed day to day. This is the funny part about all this now too. It's a crazy ass name. It's got like 4 to 6 words in the injury and all. But this is the weird part. He is listed day to day. Missoula did call it serious, but they haven't ruled him out for Game 3 too as well. They will let him play it out and see if he's able to play and all. Again, Missoula said that it's going to be up to the medical staff, not on Kristaps. But Kristaps in media day, again, this is Wednesday, and on Tuesday said that he's very optimistic that he's going to play. He's going to try everything he can to play, and based off his comments after Game 2, like right after Game 2, he's willing to die out there and all too as well. So I find it interesting. Again, he's talking to the media. If it was a serious injury, I feel like he wouldn't be talking to the media. They would have themselves a statement and keep it moving, and they would say he's not playing for Game 3. But there's nothing like that right now, and apparently it's a rare injury and all. It will require surgery and all. Again, based off what I'm hearing on the Hoop Collector, Brian Windhorst show, that if it was a severe injury, or at least what I heard from him this morning on Get Up, wherever I heard Brian Windhorst saying that if it was a severe injury, he'd be on a walking boot. And with the video that's on Twitter and that's available for digital media and all, he's clearly walking. Like I said, the media day yesterday, there was nothing apparent on his feet or on his left foot, at least, and all, to brace it or to protect whatever he's dealing with right now. So obviously it's not so severe, but it is something to at least make something out of, at least and all. I am confident that he will play, and I'm also confident the C's can win this series without him, because even though you will lose his rim protection and all, defensively, I still think the C's can keep the Dallas Mavericks, especially Luka and Kyrie Irving, in front of them the way they've kept them in front of them. You can't keep them in front of them forever the way, but I just think the way they've played Luka and Kyrie in Games 1 and 2, I just see that continuing going forward. I don't even care if they are at home. I still think they can guard. I'll give them the credit at home of just making ridiculous shots over the defense, but I still think the defense is going to show up, at least and all. So I do think they'll be able to slow them down, still keep them in front at least and all. But the rim protect, even the alley-oops too as well. Porzingis only played 25 minutes in Game 1, and again another maybe 20-25 minutes in Game 2. And Game 1 there were no lobs, and in Game 2 there was 2 lobs. Honestly, you can argue the one lob was up the court where Porzingis was really laboring, honestly, and wasn't able to get back in front of the play, at least and all. So I don't even count that lob, honestly. So I only see one lob in 2 games. even with Porzingis out there, but it's only 25 minutes of him. Al Horford's probably playing another, probably playing the other 25 minutes or so, and he's been playing well. It's all been positioning for the season, honestly. He's been able to switch just fine, honestly, and for backups at least and all. I still think if you bring in Brissett or Tillman, you can still guard the alley-oop pretty damn fine because those two can switch. And if you want to play Cornet, he's a great drop guy. He's not great switching wise. You know what I mean? I would not want him being switched on Luka. I would hope they can try to force a situation there where the guy that gets picked gets back to Luka at least, and all the guard or the forward, whoever's guarding him. But at least if Cornet's out there, at least and all, even if he can't guard Luka, he can play the drop. You have the guy getting picked get back on Luka, and at least he can defend the lob at least and all too as well. And the Celtics in this series, at least in the first two games and all, have been the guards or the wings, whoever get caught up in the back end on the baseline. If the big man does miss the five, Lively or Gaffer, basically, and all four of the lob. There's always been someone there on the back end of the baseline to hold things up, either contested or just be there to kind of take it away too as well. So I think defensively they don't miss much. Offensively, you will miss Porzingis and his shooting capabilities and the spacing. Obviously, you can't play five out the same, but I feel like that since you already had 8 guys that can do that with Porzingis, you'll have 7 without him. I still think you'll be able to space the floor. The team has still been able to generate threes even without KP on the floor. In Game 2, they just missed a whole bunch, honestly. In Game 1, they were able to pick that up a bit differently, honestly. Especially with him off the floor at least and all. I did see that they are plus 25 with Porzingis on the floor and 0 with him off the floor too as well. Again, there are late, what's the word there, but like late game where no one's, where the benches are out there basically and all. So that could have reverted the numbers a bit and all, but still a significant amount of plus 25 with and 0 or just flat. Like you're 0. It's not like you're minus without him, but you are flat. I mean, you're basically in a tie game. With Porzingis out at least and all, with them, you're plus 25 better than the Dallas Mavericks. That's just numbers at least and all, but it does show his importance on the floor at least and all too as well. So it's a big deal for him not to be out there. I don't see the injury as a big deal where we're going to lose him for the series, but it is questionable to see him game in, game out at least and all. But it is a good sign to see that the injury is day to day, and maybe he can come for Game 3 and all. Maybe you rest him for Game 4, or you rest him for Game 3, and you're playing for Game 4. Maybe that's the scenario that the C's are in at least and all. But I was surprised to hear, honestly, I forgot they were 21-4 in the regular season and all, and they ended up winning. If you don't count Game 4, they've basically won 9 games without him and had that one loss against Cleveland and all, with the last win against Miami in Game 5, the 4 wins in Cleveland, the 4 wins in Indiana, honestly, or against Indiana and Cleveland, honestly, only 1 loss in that. With the 21-4 record before the playoffs, they are now 30-5 without him. There's good reason for excuse me. There's good reason for me to feel confident that the C's can win not even the series now, just 2 wins they need now. It's not like they need 4 wins without Porzingis. They had 2 games with them. They went 2 for 2, so now they just need 2 wins without him. Honestly, when you have a record of 30-5 without him, you still have I believe you still have a offensive rating above 100, even above 105, I think, and all without him, and you still have a net defensive rating of under 100, if not a little bit under 98 or something like that. You're not like by far the best team, but you still are a good, if not a very good team, if not close to a great team, honestly, without Kristaps Porzingis with a 30-5 record and all without him and all. So I still feel confident with that, though they can win without him. I just do expect them to play. It just doesn't seem like an injury that's going. If they didn't list him day to day, I'll have a different feel about it. But it's a day to day injury. It just tells me it could be good today, it could be bad tomorrow. That's just something that they look at day to day, and honestly, so my confidence there, at least and all, is still pretty high that he's gonna play. If he was starting at least and all, and you won those 2 games while he was starting, and now you're gonna have to play him in the bench and all, you don't know. You're gonna have that's where I would struggle, like I don't know. But these 9 games before this, what is it, the 9 wins, the 9-1 record before the finals at least and all, without him playing. You've had Horford out there, and minus maybe some games in Cleveland, and maybe a game or 2 against Indiana at least and all. He's looked great, honestly, and once Mazzulla's figured out that we shouldn't play him more than 30 minutes if KP's there or not, let's put Tillman there, Cornet in there, and Brissett in there to fill those out at least and all. Al's looked awesome if he's not playing over 30 minutes and all. So since Mazzulla found that in the Pacers series, if KP can't go, I expect that to be there too as well. So as you can see, there's just too many many options for the Celtics, honestly, with or without Porzingis, even at a limited notion, at least minute-wise, at least and all. They should be fine with or without him. It shouldn't affect their defense too much. It shouldn't affect their defense too much. It'll affect their offense a bit, just because you don't have an extra shooter out there. But you get enough offensive weapons and all to make up for it, honestly. Especially if you're playing Al Horford right, he can still give you a little something too as well. He honestly did too as well. With no three, and the C's were struggling again with the threes in the game too. They were struggling with their threes in game two, and Al hit the last three attempted in quarter one, honestly, with a clutch play. I think if they didn't get the lead, yeah, I'll give Dallas that. It wasn't the first lead. They had a lead in the first quarter too as well. They came in with a punch, honestly, so I'll correct myself there and all. But that three helped to keep things close, honestly, where they were able to take over in the second quarter and able to build some sort of lead going into the third quarter, honestly, where Dallas came back. And then they were able to build up bigger leads in the third and fourth quarter and hold off Dallas because each time they were coming back in those games and all. So for KP, that's the hiccup right there and all. I still feel confident. Nothing's changed there, honestly. You already came in with a hobbled KP anyway. He's hobbled enough to still play. I don't think it really doesn't change much, honestly. If you just can't play at all, that's when things get interesting, honestly. But if nothing more happens to his legs, and it's a fair notion that something else may happen to him, but if nothing happens, you still have him for the series, maybe in or out, maybe 10 to 15 minutes prior to maybe having him for 15 to 25 minutes at least. No, maybe you don't have him as much, but you still have him out there, and KP out there with this offense, with this team, at least the way Jalen and Jason are moving the basketball, with 7 assists from Jaylen Brown in game 2 and then 12 assists from Jason Tatum, honestly. They should be fine, honestly. If they were relying on him for his post moves and all, on 50% of their offense at least and all, what was it, 250 possessions, if 125 of them they needed Kristaps Porzingis post ups, I'd be worried. But they don't, or even like 75 to 125 Kristaps Porzingis post ups. They don't need those. They only need 10 of them, if 5, and really, honestly, they don't need much for it. If anything, they need those post ups for him to get a rhythm at least and all. So again, I'm not so concerned. You hope they can. It's not like you hope. You know they can win these games without him and all. I just think it's just a more of a pressure situation for them to show it, honestly. And to end it, now I'm early. I'm 20 minutes and I'm about to end it too as well. So I got a little time. I got a little extra 10 minutes. But since there's one thing about not having KP out that makes me interested about Jason Tatum's shot at least and all. The man has always shown out in pressure situations with his shot. His shot has always been it's been pretty bad compared to his past numbers, at least and all. But there's always been bad stretches in the playoffs with him. And with the less games the C's have played this year, there's been less pressure for him to get out of it, honestly. It's not that he can't get out of it. There's less games for him to play. We're usually playing, like these games that we're talking about with Jason Tatum stepping up and all. We're talking Game 6 in Milwaukee. We're talking about Game 6 and Game 7 against Philly last year. We're talking about after being down 0-3, him stepping up against Miami in Games 5 and 6 especially, honestly, that helped him hold the lead so Derek White can have his magic in the second half, especially in the last end of the fourth quarter in that game, honestly. So Jason Tatum under pressure, his shot has shown out and all. I feel like these playoffs, to be real, there's been no real pressure for him to score, honestly. Maybe the one you can argue are the Game 3s against Cleveland and Indiana, where you're coming off a loss in Game 2 against Cleveland, honestly, and he showed out and had a 36-10 and 8, if not 9 assist game, honestly. And the same thing, and I think after Game 1, No. After Game 1, Jaylen Brown killed it in Game 2 and had himself a 40-point game, actually. But you can argue, after those first 2 games, you can argue that Indiana could have been 1-1 going Game 3, and Jason Tatum stepped up and had himself a 30-point game. If not, that was Game 4. Game 3, whatever, he had that big game and all. But again, you can argue Indiana could have a 2-1 series lead if it ended up being Game 4. But you can argue Indy could have won every game that series except for Game 2 because it was a clear blowout by the fourth quarter at least and all. But Games 1, 3, and 4, you can argue Indy could have won those games, honestly. And that big pass to Al Horford in Game 3, honestly. I just can't remember which game was the 30-point game, honestly. But he came out and had himself a big game, honestly, after Indy was showing that they can win a game or 2 against Boston, honestly. That pressure hasn't been there yet in this series and all because he's been able to move the basketball again to the paint very easily, honestly. If KP is hindered in any type of way where we don't see him a lot, maybe that pressure comes onto Jason a little bit more. And then the first time in this postseason, he shows you what he's really about, honestly. Because over the past two postseasons, even the past three with his 50-point game against Brooklyn, against that, against the when they were healthy before they got hurt against Milwaukee, but this is 2021, had himself a 50-point game and won the only game in that series because of his 50-point game and all. He's shown you in every postseason, especially from since 21, and you can argue 20 a bit too as well. But I say that's more of a Jaylen Brown coming out party. Jason Tatum's rookie year was really a coming out party in the playoffs. 2019 was 2019, we all know. Had a little moment there in the bubble, but got blocked by Bam, so that's how it really ended. Then 21, the 50-point game against Brooklyn. 22, we're talking about the Milwaukee game in Game 6 when Giannis is dropping 43, I think. Jason Tatum dropped 46 in the win. And then the next year, and then there's moments in the Miami series where he won Eastern Conference Finals MVP and all. And last year, Philly, and then on the second half of the being down 0-3, at least coming back and forcing in Game 7, had some big moments too as well, and it's unfortunate. In Game 7 of the ECF, he twisted his ankle, because the way he came off in Game 6, you can argue he's about to be set up for another 30-point game and all. So with KP's questions, injury-wise at least and all, and the fact that we haven't seen Jason Tatum shot yet, and we've seen when the pressure's been really on Boston, their season's on the line, he's shown out and all throughout this postseason and then past postseasons and all. I just think it's kind of setting up for that. He is getting his shots. He's just missing them, honestly, too, as well. To make or miss league, I'll give even Kyrie Irving a break there, too. He's just missing some shots, too, as well. PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., honestly, he's missing some shots. I'm going to give Dallas some credit. But we can argue that Jason Tatum is missing some shots too as well. And if both things are true, honestly, if both things reverse, I should say, and I would think they reverse a little bit on the road, the way Tatum has played on the road, and to give the role players credit for Dallas for playing on the road, I would think those two can come to a head. And if those two come to a head, the way Jason's moving the ball, I still like Boston's chances of winning that type of basketball game too as well. So I am 26 minutes in. Game 2 is Game 2. Kristaps Porzingis was the big hiccup, the biggest takeaway, honestly. I'm still confident the C's can still win this series with or without him. I do expect them to play, just based off the day-to-day report and all, and the way Jason Kidd was playing gamesmanship. After Game 1, I'm kind of thinking the same thing with Boston, with Mazzulla saying it's serious, putting it in the hands of the medical staff. I kind of think there's gamesmanship there, because I think if it was that serious, I don't think Kristaps Porzingis is available for media the way he was available for media yesterday. Even Jake Eisenberg, if I'm getting his name right, from NBA TV, even had a similar interview that Malika Andrews had with Jaylen Brown, honestly. So if I feel like if he was really hurt, there was really a chance of him, if it was really a serious injury, I don't think he'd be doing media and talking to the media about being optimistic about his future status for this series and all too as well. So even though it's a hiccup, I do expect him to play. But if he does get hurt, if he is unable to play, I should say, because he's already hurt basically, I do expect Boston to still show out. I don't have any type of anxiety or nervousness about them winning this series, at least and all. They do have to win it differently. That's something fair, at least and all. But I do like their chances still of winning this series. Last I checked, before the injury status came out, I know Dallas is favored in this game. I'm going to, before we close it out, since I have time and all, I'm going to see if that's the case. I knew they were a 1.5-point favorite against Boston in Game 3. I'm only talking slow because I'm typing right now. So I just wanted to see if I can find the odds and all, because they were a betting favorite before the Kristaps news. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it moved. I'm just not sure how much it moved. I'm trying to see if I can find it in time just for the recording. Game 3 odds. The money line is in Dallas's favor. Yeah, they're still 1.5 favorite. The spread's still 1.5, so Vegas hasn't changed anything even after the Kristaps news. This is on USA Today, so I'm thinking it's an updated. Their pages were updated from yesterday at least and all, but I'm not seeing anything move on the spread. The Mavericks are in favor of the money line, -130, with the C's being +105. And the over-under is at 212.5, and that seems pretty even too as well on both sides, or what the over and under seems even, at least not at 212.5. So the Mavericks are still favored, which I thought they'd be favored anyway in this Game 3 scenario, honestly, if Kristaps was healthy or he was hurt, honestly, based on based on how Vegas had it, bettors 80 like I said I think in previous recordings, 89% of the bettors are going with Dallas in this series, honestly. But Vegas did have Boston winning this series, the first time Boston's been favored to win a final since '86, honestly. So out of all the games to favor Dallas, I did expect Game 3 to favor them, and we're gonna see how this game's go on. I'm pretty sure Vegas is gonna see how this game goes in order to look at Game 4, honestly, because I would think Dallas is favored, but it won't be much, honestly. If they barely win this game, they'll barely be favored. But if Boston double digits or even wins more than 5 at least and all, you can easily see Boston favored in Game 4, honestly. If they played like the better team in this series by far, in my opinion, especially defensively. You can honestly look at their missed threes in the first half of game 2, and in the first half of the third quarter in game 2 is the reason why game 2 was close as what it was. If they were able to hit just like 2 or 3 more 3-pointers, the way the momentum was shifting their way when those threes were up, I really think it could have been another blowout situation the way it was in game 1. Maybe Dallas comes back again to make it a little bit of a game, but it's just their missed threes, honestly. I feel like it's why Game 2 was closer than what it was, honestly. I feel like I don't see anything different from Dallas unless Kyrie Irving is hitting his shots. I just feel like whatever they're getting is what they're getting, and most of their stuff is contested compared to what Boston is getting is not contested. It's not even that Dallas's shots are contested. They're not getting as many shots as Boston right now, too, as well, honestly. The only thing home-wise I'll give them is that they can make their shots that they've been missing at home, and maybe that gives them a 10 to 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Maybe they can hold that off, honestly. But with that scenario like that, which I don't see how Dallas ever has a 10-point lead for long durations. They can get a 10-point, 12-point lead quick for like 30 to 40 seconds in the seas, get it down to 8 points at least. No, that could happen. But for like a whole quarter, having a 12-point lead over the seas, I just have a hard time seeing it with only their offensive punch coming from 2 players. If there was one more player to really be scared of to give you an offensive punch, I give them a fair shot in this series. I just don't consistently see it. I had a PJ Washington, Derek Jones. I brought up Tim Hardaway, but I feel like that idea is kind of being shut down, honestly, even if I'm trying to give myself credit for it, because he's probably not giving you anything defensively. Even if he does hit 3 shots in a row, if he gives you nothing defensively, if he can get 9 points up in 2 minutes, but he's giving up 5 points on the other side, it really doesn't do anything for you. You're in the same position again, and it only gets worse because he's not going to continue to go 3 for 3 in 2 minutes, but he will continue playing bad defense and all too as well. So I can understand the point of not playing Tim Hardaway, and if you're not going to put that type of offensive punch, and Maxi Kleber's still giving you nothing from the 3-point line, I think another 0 for 4 night for him. I'm kind of worried on what more Dallas can give you when I'm seeing these generated shots for Boston, and all it is in game 2 of the first half or so. They just weren't making them and all. It's not like I'm going to give Indiana's offense credit if there was other guys just scoring, because they had other guys. Nembhard was doing this thing. Even after losing Halliburton, Nembhard was doing this thing. Neesmith was doing this thing. Obi Toppin was show out. Miles Turner was show out. And obviously Pascal Siakam too was show up. That's 5 guys that can give you 10 to 15 points in any given night. And that's what Indy was doing against Boston. That's what made it more of a series the longer it kept going. I don't see that from Dallas unless they're able to get their lob game going the way Boston's been playing defense. I don't see how their lob game gets so opened up from 54 lobs in the first 3 rounds to 2 in the first 2 games, and mind you 0 in game 1. I don't see how that's going to change up just by going home, honestly. The shot making can help going home, but not when the defense is positionally playing well defensively. I don't get how that changes on the road unless, again, Boston just wants to have a gag job defensively and on the way they've played this postseason. There's only been one game in game 2 against Miami and all that they've had that. They haven't had that since. It's hard for me to see that. That's one, even though, their offense, their 3-point shot may not come back in game 3, I do expect the defense to be there, and I can see their defense keeping them in this game, honestly, where there's going to be a clutch situation, and I get Dallas is the favorite when it comes to these clutch situations. Boston has showed up in every clutch situation and all, and I feel like game 2 was a clutch situation where Dallas got a lead in the third quarter, was making it close in the fourth quarter, and the seized twice in the second half at least and all, pushed the lead to over double digits and all. So let me let it go here. Game 3 shall be interesting. If I'm nervous about any game in this series, this is probably the one I'm nervous about too as well. First game at home for Dallas. There's going to be a pep in their step too as well. It could lift them to a win, honestly, but I'm still confident the Seas can make this a game and all. all, and we'll see what happens and all. So once again, I do appreciate you guys listening. This is Ralph signing out. Talk to you soon.